This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Sefer Daniel. We continue from where we left off. Okay. So we left off talking about Daniel and the comparisons between three great people. We had Daniel, we had Yosef HaTzadik, and we had Esther. Every single one of these people had a quality that was unique, and that was hin. Hin means grace. It means favor. It means people like you. You talk to people and they want to help and they want to do. Daniel had hin, just like Yosef had hin, and just like Esther had hin. And that grace helped him, because whenever he needed help, he went ahead and convinced people to be on his side, to benefit him. Now, this isn't the only comparison that we find and correlation we find with Daniel together with Yosef. This week's parasha, we speak about Yosef. This parashat Miketz is the parasha of Yosef HaTzadik and how he rose to power from the beginning of the parasha, where he interprets the dreams of Paro and Paro appoints him, all the way through till the end of the parasha, where the brothers have to bow down to him and he gives them food, and he takes Shimon captive, he takes Binyamin, Yehuda confronts Yosef. All of this story happens in this week's parasha. And we know there's a concept, Ma'aseh Avot Siman Lebanim, which means what happens to our forefathers is something that is a prediction that is going to happen to us as well. And we find this, for example, Avraham Avinu. If you remember, Avraham Avinu goes to Eretz Yisrael. And what happens when he arrives in Eretz Yisrael? Who knows? There's a famine. There's a famine. And he has to leave Eretz Yisrael to go down to Mitzrayim. And in Mitzrayim, he's there. And what happens to Sarah Imenu? She's taken captive. She's taken by Paro. And she's made into a servant, a wife servant, in the house of Paro. Now, while she was in Mitzrayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent angels to protect Sarah Imenu. He sent her an angel that guarded her. Anytime somebody wanted to harm her or touch her, what would happen to him? She would say to the angel one word, hit him, hit, and he would hit. And it says that she herself had the angel hit Paro and his people 10 times. 10 times she said hit, and they got hit, until they learned their lesson and they stayed far away from Sarah Imenu. Eventually what happened was, pay attention, Binyamin, pay attention. Eventually what happened was that Paro released Sarah, gave her back to Avram when he found out that she's his wife. He gave her back, and he let them go with a lot of gold and silver. Alright, that's what happened to Avraham Avinu. Now notice, every single part of this story happened to Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael, Yaakov Avinu and his children, they lived in Eretz Yisrael. Then there was a famine. And what did they have to do? They had to go down to Egypt. Yosef supported his family for the rest of the duration of the famine. And he provided them. After they lived in Egypt, what happens? Just like Sarah Imenu was taken into captivity, Am Yisrael was taken and enslaved. After Am Yisrael was enslaved, 210 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, you're going to be the one to go ahead and to free Am Yisrael through the 10 plagues, Eser Makot. Those 10 plagues were the same 10 plagues that Sarah Imenu sent to Paro in Mitzrayim many years beforehand. And what happens? Paro frees Am Yisrael, and he sends them off without clothing, without money, or with money? With money. He sends them out with gold, with silver, just like Sarah Imenu left with gold and silver. What does this show us? Everything that happened to Avraham Avinu happened to his children. Ma'aseh avot, the actions of the forefathers. Siman lebanim is an indication for the forecoming of what is happening to the grandchildren. Not only this, we know Yosef himself was sold into slavery. Does anybody here know how many times Yosef was transferred? How many owners did Yosef have through his slavery?
2.
More.
3.
Not giving you? I was just saying more. Binyamin.
5.
Close.
6.
No.
3. 7.
No.
4.
4 times. There were 4 different masters that Yosef had. The first were called Yishmaelim. Vehine orechat Yishmaelim ba'a migilad. He was sold from the Yishmaelim to the Midanim. The Midanim were like Midian. From Midanim, he was given over to, famously, this one everybody should know. Who was he given over to? Potiphar. He was a slave, and then he became the servant of Paro. He became second in command, but he was underneath the reign of Paro. So Yosef HaTzadik had 4 masters. And what did Am Yisrael have and has? 4 exiles. The 4 exiles of Am Yisrael corresponds to the 4 times Yosef HaTzadik was transferred from one place to another place to another place. Yosef was called an Av. Why? We had 3 forefathers, right? 3. Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. Yosef was the 4th. He was the 4th Av. He was an extension of Yaakov Avinu, and he was the continuity. And therefore, really, we had 4 Avot. Yosef being the 4th one. And Ma'aseh Avot Siman Lebanim. That means that whatever happens in Yosef's life will end up happening again. So he went through 4 exiles. Am Yisrael goes through 4 exiles. Now let's look at Daniel and Yosef. What is amazing is there's a striking resemblance of the life of Yosef to the life of Daniel. I'll give you as an example. Yosef HaTzadik, he was 17 years old. He was young at the time where he was sold and taken away from his family. He was no longer allowed to be by his family. So he was taken to a foreign country, to Mitzrayim, at a very young age. That was Yosef. And what about Daniel? Daniel was the same thing. Daniel was 15 years old when Nebuchadnezzar took him away from the rest of his family and brought him down to Babel. So that's one similarity. Not only that, when Yosef became very important in Egypt, was he called Yosef? No. He was called Safenat Paneach. Very good, Eliyahu. He was called Safenat Paneach. And he was changed. The name was changed. Daniel, was he called Daniel by Nebuchadnezzar? Nebuchadnezzar made him big in his house. He made him great. And he changed his name to Belshazzar. He gave him a new name, just like Yosef got a new name. Daniel received a new name. And we've already said that Yosef had chen. He had grace, both in the eyes of the Sarah Mashkim and the Sarah Ofim, the captains, the people in charge of the baking the goods of the king and the wine of the king. Yosef was loved by them. They loved him. They found him in very good eyes. And not only that, Paro Melech Mitzrayim loved Yosef. He even told all the people cried to him. They said, "You put this man in charge of us. He's asking for gold. He's asking for silver." Paro says, "I don't want to hear it. Whatever Yosef tells you to do, you have to do. Everything. You go to Yosef. As he tells you to do." He loved him. He knew who Yosef was. And Nebuchadnezzar, he really respected and loved Daniel because he also had chen. He also had grace. So both Yosef and Daniel had grace. Not only that, we find that Yosef HaTzadik was referred to by his father as Ur-Kod-Kod, Nezir Ehav. What's the word Nezir mean? Nazir. What's a Nazir?
Person that doesn't drink wine gets grapes.
Beautiful. A person who's Nazir doesn't drink wine. Yosef HaTzadik, every single day he was in Egypt, they would offer him wine. He says, "I'm not drinking wine." He didn't allow himself to drink wine the whole time he was in Egypt because he was mourning. He was far away from his family. He was in sadness. He says, I can't drink wine, especially since this is wine of Goyim. It's not Jewish wine. It's wine of non-Jews. He didn't want to touch wine the whole time when he was in Egypt. And Daniel, also, the whole time he was in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, he did not drink wine. Now, Rabotai, I want to tell you, there is one more striking resemblance between Yosef and Daniel, but I can't tell it to you right now.
I know it.
There's one more striking resemblance. Hold on, if you think you know, you can hold on. We'll talk about it soon. Something that they both had that was extremely similar to one another. But let's continue in the story. Remember, Daniel, he walked over to the head of the kitchen. He told him, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to help me. I can't eat meat. I can't eat wine. I can't have the bread of non-Jews. You have to give me something that I'm able to eat. Give me rice. Give me vegetables. Give me beans. Give me things that I'm able to eat that I know are kasher, because we spoke last week about how important it is to keep kasher and to create separation. Even the wine of the non-Jews, even the oil of the non-Jews, Daniel didn't want to go ahead and have. But we asked the question, why didn't Daniel ask Nebuchadnezzar or the person in charge to allow him to slaughter his own meat? Make his own kasher food. You could have badatz Daniel mehadrin. They call it badatz Daniel mehadrin. Like there's OU, okay, you look at the store, you go to the store, and you want to have a chocolate. So sometimes you go to the store and your mom says, it's not kasher. So then you start looking, does it have an OU? Does it have OK? If it has an OU, you know it's kasher. Right? So why didn't Daniel start an OU? OD, call it. Orthodox Daniel. Kashrut. Why didn't he want to do that? So there's two reasons. Something called in Hebrew, tafasta merube lo tafasta, which means if someone comes over to you and says, I want to buy you something nice, and you ask him, you know what I really want? I want a space shuttle. I can't afford a space shuttle, so sorry, no. And then you ask for something else, like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. When a person asks for too much, sometimes he ends up with nothing. Sometimes you end up with nothing because you asked for more than what the person was able to do for you. So Daniel, he was afraid. The Gemara tells us a story about Rabbi Dahan. One time he was before the Romans, and they were going to destroy Beit HaMikdash, and he snuck out of the city to meet with the Roman king, the emperor. Now, the emperor was so impressed by Rabbi Dahan as being such a tzaddik. It says, the Gemara says, Rabbi Dahan told him, you're emperor. And the emperor at the time was somebody else. It wasn't even him. It says that, you can't call me emperor, I'm not the emperor. He says, no, you're the emperor. He says, really? And then as they were speaking, somebody came at the door and told him, the emperor passed away, you're the new emperor. He's like, wow, Rabbi Dahan is so smart, how did he know? He was so impressed with the wisdom, and by the way, he wasn't just wise, he was beautiful. He saw beauty in him. So impressed by him. He says, tell me, whatever you want, I'll give you. So Rabbi Dahan, he says, okay, make sure the rabbis are safe. Tenni Yavne ve'chachamea. Give me the city of Yavne, spare it, don't destroy it. Excuse me, Rabbi Dahan, you're super smart. Why didn't you ask him to not destroy Beit HaMikdash? He was going to destroy the Beit HaMikdash. Ask him. Says Rabbi Dahan, I can't. I know he's going to do it. If I ask him for that, he's going to say no and get out. He's going to kick me out. I have to ask him for something small in his eyes, not something big, so that I'm able to get it. In life, let's say someone takes you to a room. There's 100 toys in this room. 100 toys. He says, whatever you could take in your hands, you get to keep. So what are you going to do? You're going to put everything in your hand, like you're going to load up your hands with as much toys as you can get, like stacked piled high. As you're about to leave the room, all of a sudden you're trying to get through the door, and one of the toys on the bottom like slips out. And what happens to all the toys? They all fall out of his hands. He walks out of the room and he has no toys in his hands. He says, but I was holding all of them. But you took too much. And when you took too much, what happened was, even if one falls, all of it starts to fall. So take 3, 4, it's something you could for sure hold in your hand, and go and leave the room, and you'll know you'll get it, and not risk not getting anything at all. Right? That's tafasta merubero tafasta. So Daniel comes along and he says, if I ask that they should give me, allow me to make sure the food is kasher, that means I'm going to have to slaughter it. I'm going to have to salt it. I'm going to have to check it. It's going to take time to do all this. It's going to take a whole new section, a new kitchen, new utensils, everything. And who says that Bavel is going to do this for me? That's a lot to ask for. So that's number one. It was asking too much. Number two, the reason Daniel, no, sit straight, look at me. The reason Daniel did not want to go ahead and make this request, because he's a very busy man. And to be on top of kashrut, to go in charge and make sure everything is exactly kasher as it needs to be, it's a full-time job. You have to be in the kitchen. You have to see with your own eyes. Make sure you slaughter this right. Make sure this is done right. Don't make this, don't compromise. You have to do it the right way. And that takes a lot of time. And Daniel had to be called into the palace. And sometimes he would have to be standing straight like this for hours. Because if he moved even his nose, Nebuchadnezzar, hey, you moved, kill him. So Daniel, he didn't have the opportunity to be all involved in a new endeavor like that. So he couldn't ask for it. He says, I prefer to just be safe, and I'll eat rice, I'll eat a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of fruits, and I'll survive. I'll be fine. Now remember, when he first asked, what happened? He first asked the chef in charge. Did the chef tell him yes?
No.
He said no, right?
Yeah.
Then he decided to go to the meltzar. The meltzar is the waiter who brings out the food. He says, I know you're supposed to give me this food to eat, and you're commanded by Nebuchadnezzar, but let me tell you, please, I don't want this food. I just want rice. I want small things. I'll be fine. He says, but then they're going to become skinny, and then Nebuchadnezzar is going to see and he's going to be upset. He's like, try it for 10 days. Give me 10 days. Don't give me meat. Don't give me bread. Just give me vegetables, fruits, and seeds. That's it. Just do that for me, please. He begs him. He was not sure. Should I say yes? I don't know. It's dangerous. He says, look, it's to your benefit. You could take this food, give it to your family. Your family is going to want to eat, right? Give the food to your family and give me the seeds. The servant, the waiter, heard this and he says, you know what? My family would love to have such delicious, unbelievable food from the palace of the king. He agreed. He finally agreed. Daniel was so happy, he was so excited that finally the meltzar was willing to do it for 10-day trial to see if he loses weight, it's going to stop. He's not going to get it anymore. If he's able to keep the same weight as every one of the goyim that were his age, that were eating the king's food, then he would be able to continue. So Daniel was happy. At least I know I got 10 days. Now why did he ask for 10? Why not 5? Why not 20? Why not a month? Why did he ask for 10 days? You have an answer, Binyamin?
Yeah.
Why?
Maybe because if he does it for more, then maybe he'll lose enough weight. If he does, then and the king is gonna realize.
So I asked for 10, so ask for 5.
Maybe that's the limit until.
Okay, maybe. What else?
If he asks too much, maybe the waiter won't give it to him.
Right, so why 10? Why not 11? Why not 12? Why not 7? Why 10? That's my question. He could have asked for any number in that range. Any number in that range. One last try. Yeah, go ahead.
Because if he asks too much, maybe he'll like gain weight or like lose weight.
Gain weight is good. They wanted him to gain weight. Lose weight was the problem. But no, I'm going to tell you why. First of all, he said, my great-great-grandfather is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was tested with 10 challenges. Asara nisyonot. Bizchut, in the merit of all the 10 challenges that he passed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should merit me to have the ability that a miracle should happen, that I shouldn't lose weight for these 10 days. So that was one reason why he said 10, because it had to do with Avraham Avinu, who was his forefather. But there was a second reason. It's a very deep reason. When did he ask for this request? It was the evening right before Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah, we know, there is Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. There's 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim. And these 10 days, we try to be extra careful in what we eat, in food that all the rest of the year we say is allowed to eat. We say, no, but on Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, I'm going to keep Halav Yisrael, I'm going to keep Pat Yisrael, I'm going to try to be more careful on all of the halachot and what enters my mouth and what leaves my mouth. Everything, just the way the person speaks, the way a person eats. These were Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. Daniel said, let me at least get these 10 days. If I lose weight, at least, I did 10 days of Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. So that is the amazingness of Daniel. Every step was thought out carefully to make sure that I do it in the best way possible. Now, what happened after 10 days? Nes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they had a test. Every 10 days, they would have a test. The first 10 days, the waiter looks to see, and Nebuchadnezzar was there looking to see. And what did they see? They saw that not only Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah, who joined with him, and only ate seeds, meaning, could you imagine to yourself? Imagine every day, instead of receiving macaroni and cheese, or receiving pizza, or receiving hamburgers, right? All these things. Instead of this, you were just given rice. Every single day, all you get to eat is rice and water. A cup of water and rice. Morning, afternoon, and evening. You say, but I want cereal. No, rice. But I want to go ahead and have a hot dog. No, rice. Everything, rice. What about French fries? No French fries. Rice. All day for 10 days. Yeah, you can have fruits and vegetables and apples. We'll give you apples and rice. Go ahead. Now, that's hard. Most people would start losing weight. That's how you do a diet. If you want to lose weight and you want to cut the weight, you eat only vegetables and fruits and smoothies and all these things, and then you start losing weight. But it's very hard, because if you're not eating bread, you're not eating meat, so then what does your body have to gain weight? A miracle happened. Daniel and his friends were not only not losing weight, they were stronger than all of their goyim friends who were drinking wine and having meat and having all the good foods and bread and everything. They were stronger than them. They were stronger. Not only this, it says in Daniel, it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw the actions of Daniel and Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah, and what he did is he gave them more than just strength. He gave them wisdom. So much wisdom that they received. All three, Hananiah, Mishael, Vazariah, received very high level of wisdom, more than any other goy that was in the palace of the king, and they were all very smart, by the way. They were all very smart. But they received more wisdom than that. And not only that, Daniel, aside from the wisdom that he received more than everybody, because he was the one that led the mission to make sure to keep kasher, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a special blessing that he should have knowledge of interpreting dreams. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into his mind the ability to interpret dreams. And now, Daniel himself mentioned this idea of Ya'iv Chokhmah lehakimeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave wisdom to those that are wise. There is a story with Rabbi Yosef bar Halafta. One time, this non-Jewish woman came over to Rabbi Yosef. It says, I think you have a typo in your Torah. I think you have a mistake. It says that God gives wisdom to those that are wise. It should say God gives wisdom to those that aren't wise. The wise people don't need wisdom. They have it. So doesn't it make more sense to say that God gives the wisdom to those that aren't wise? Uvlev kol hacham lev natati chokhmah. I gave wisdom to those that have a wise heart. Why do you have to give wisdom to one who has wisdom already? Says Rabbi Yosef bar Halafta, let me ask you a question. You're a rich woman. If two people came to you, one was a rich man and one was a poor man, and each one of them would ask you to give them a loan. Give them money so that they'll pay you back. Borrow the money and we'll pay you back in another year. One person, the rich man, he says, I need to borrow $10,000. I'll pay you back next year. The poor man says, I need to borrow $7,000. I'll pay you back next year. Which person will you give money to borrow? The rich or the poor man? And she answered, you don't have to answer. She answered, of course to the rich man I'll give. He said, why? Why'd you give to the rich man? He says, because if the rich man takes the money and loses it, or something happens to that money, he has money to pay me back. He has his own money to pay me back from. But the poor man, if he loses the money, he's going to have nothing to pay me back. Even though the poor is only asking for 7,000, the rich is asking for 10,000, but the rich has what to pay back. The poor doesn't. He says, listen to your own answer. You said you would rather lend money to a person who's rich. So says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If I give wisdom to someone who's a fool, if I give him wisdom, what's he going to do with the wisdom? He's going to take it and learn it in the bathroom and desecrate it teach it to people that are not worthy of knowing the knowledge. He's going to use the knowledge in ways that are not kadosh, that are not holy. So who does God give wisdom to? Those that have chokhmah, those that are already knowledgeable and understand and know how to preserve the wisdom, are rich in the wisdom. To him God adds more wisdom. And that was Daniel. Daniel received wisdom from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even more than Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. And now we get back to the point of the comparison between Yosef HaTzaddik and Daniel. So Binyamin, I said I was going to call on you. Yes.
Now I have two. First, the dreams, and second, that they looked beautiful.
Very good. The looking beautiful is the Hain. That's connected to the Hain. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Daniel the ability to interpret dreams, just like Yosef interpreted in this week's parasha, the one we just read, interpreted the dreams of Paro. Now listen to what happens. Daniel is there. This is the second year after the destruction of Beit HaMikdash. 21 years into the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar goes to sleep one night. He has a dream. He wakes up in the morning and he can't remember what it is. He doesn't remember not the interpretation and not the dream itself. He didn't know. So one night he slept. He says, okay, it bothered him, but he didn't make a big deal. But it started happening every single night. And he realizes, this is an important dream. This isn't a dream you just go to sleep one night and you have. It's important. It keeps repeating itself. And he keeps remembering it when he's sleeping, like clearly. And then every time he wakes up, he forgets it. He doesn't know what to do. He tries to remember. It doesn't come back to him. Kadosh Baruch Hu sent him a dream. Why? This was a special dream. Usually people come to me and they say, I had a dream last night that something terrible happened. I say, don't worry. Dreams, they don't mean anything. They don't. Most of the time, a person has a dream, you should forget it. He wakes up in the morning, he might be a little bit nervous, scared. Forget it, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. Dreams don't mean anything. But when somebody like a king, like Nebuchadnezzar, has a dream and it repeats and it repeats and it repeats, that dream is a message from God. That's very different than the regular person having a dream. That's a message from God. And that dream is meaningful. Nebuchadnezzar knew that this dream was important. Why did God send him this dream? You know?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
One is that was Daniel more smarter than Nebuchadnezzar?
It doesn't say. Nebuchadnezzar was very intelligent. How do we know? Because it came a time that he decided in his kingdom he's going to test the wisdom of all the smart people. He's going to test how wise every person is. And he made a test for every single person, including Daniel. It says that the wisdom of Daniel was 10 times greater than the smartest person in his whole empire. So Nebuchadnezzar must have been really smart, because he saw that Daniel was smarter than everybody else. He must have been really smart. Otherwise, how could he test and make sure that everybody's listening? He tested them in science. He's tested them in math. He tested them in the ability to understand a lot of different ways. He tested, and he saw that Daniel was 10 times smarter than everybody else. So it must have been Nebuchadnezzar was super, super smart. It doesn't say who was smarter, but if I had to assume, Daniel was smarter. If I had to assume, it was Daniel. But Nebuchadnezzar was the smartest person in his kingship. Now, by the way, now that you mentioned, you reminded me, why does it say that Daniel's wisdom was 10 times more than the wisdom of everybody else? So the reason is because we said Daniel was the one that said, 10 days, give me to have the beans and the vegetables and the rice. 10 days. He says, for every day that you went ahead and you begged to keep the Torah and the mitzvot, I'm going to go ahead and give you so much more wisdom, 10 times more than the average person in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, who was already extremely intelligent. Meaning he was the smartest of the smartest people that there were by 10 times. That's a lot. That was Daniel.
And the second one is, once my rabbi in camp, he had a book, and a person had a dream, and then one tells the Rab, and he had a dream one time, and it was true.
It was a dream about the future or the past?
Future.
Okay, it depends what the dream was. If it was that he's going to wake up tomorrow morning and he's going to breathe, then it could be true. But if it was something that was very, very complex, like I don't think anybody has ever said in his dream, anybody had ever had in their dream, what the lottery tickets of tomorrow are going to be. Why hasn't that happened yet? The answer is because dreams generally, 99.999% of dreams, are just what we think about during the day. They don't have any ramification. They are not prophecies. They are not part of dreams. Halomot shav yedaberu. They speak falsehoods. Do not believe a dream. And if you have a dream, when Be'ezrat Hashem, if a person becomes a leader, a king, a governor, whatever, somebody's important, and he has a dream, then he should go ahead and he should talk to a Rav, and the Rav will tell him which dream is real, which dream is not real.
The dream was about renting a Chevy and then driving on the highway and falling off.
Okay. All right. I don't think it matters so much what the dream was. There's other concepts that are called in psychology. There's other concepts called where a person remembers things that he didn't really happen, but it's not. I don't think it's relevant. The bottom line is dreams do not mean anything. Chalomot shav yedaberu. When it comes, put your hands down. Put your hands down. I have to finish with Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. Why does God send him a dream? Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu send him this dream? Because He wants to inform him. He wants him to know that his time is limited. The kingdom of Babel is going to fall. That was the point of the dream. Now, he was giving him this sign. Why did he want to indicate this? It was not the end of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, because he wanted Nebuchadnezzar to know and to have the opportunity to do teshuvah, Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Beit HaMikdash. He didn't want to destroy Beit HaMikdash. If you remember, in the beginning we spoke about the rabbis came to him and said, what do you want to do? He says, I don't want to destroy Beit HaMikdash. The problem was the Jews rebelled and rebelled and rebelled until he got upset and angry and decided he's going to destroy Beit HaMikdash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw in Nebuchadnezzar sparks of greatness. If he did tshuva, he would have been tzaddik like David HaMelech was tzaddik. That's how great Nebuchadnezzar was. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted his tshuva. He wanted him to come back. He gave him this dream. Now Nebuchadnezzar was struggling. He didn't know, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to figure this out? This is bothering him. It bugged him so much. He decided he's going to call all of the wise men. He gathers what is called in the pasuk the kasdim. He brings along, these were the most intelligent people in interpreting dreams. What's interesting is he didn't call Daniel. You say to yourself, wait a second, I thought Daniel was much smarter than everybody else. Yeah, Daniel at this point was smarter, but he was inexperienced. And Nebuchadnezzar said he's smart in math and science and all these things. He doesn't know about interpreting dreams. I'm going to ask the people that have been interpreting dreams for the last 30 years. That's who I'm going to talk to. He summons them to the palace. Nebuchadnezzar was a little bit crazy, right? So he said to them, he wanted them to tell him the truth. He said to them, listen to me carefully. You're going to tell me what my dream was, and you're going to tell me the interpretation. And if you don't, I kill all of you. That's what he said to them. If you don't, I kill every single one of you. And if you do, I reward you with all the gold and the silver that you can ask for. So now the Kasdim, they want to help him, right? They want to help him. Why wouldn't they want to? Problem was, he didn't even tell him the dream. How are they supposed to interpret a dream? They don't even know what the dream is. Even he didn't know the dream. So they're supposed to know a dream that the person who dreamt it doesn't know himself. So they're stuck. Now on the one hand, if they don't do anything, he's going to kill them. He's not afraid. Nebuchadnezzar would kill people with the snap of his finger. So they tried to stall him. It says that they started speaking and they gave speeches and they said, well, and then they tried to convince him, maybe tell us the dream. He didn't know the dream, but they thought maybe he was trying to fool them and not telling him the truth. So they said, the king has to tell us the dream. He says, I don't know the dream. You have to tell me the dream. So they tried to stall. Nebuchadnezzar saw. He wasn't stupid. He was smart. He realized right away. He said, you're trying to wait until it's 12 o'clock because you know at 12 o'clock, once 12 o'clock comes, that's it. Then it's already, I let you go. I'm not going to let you wait until 12 o'clock. I'll make sure you're dead before 12 o'clock. That's what he told them. That's what he said to them. Okay. So they go ahead and they don't know what to do. Finally they say, we have to admit the truth. They came to the king and they said, look, our honorable king, there is no one in the world who could interpret dreams without having the dream given to him. You want us to interpret, no problem. Tell us the dream. Without knowing the dream, we can't do it. And not only us, but there isn't a person in the world that could do this. And then they said, except for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And some of the commentaries explain, what does it mean except for God? They said to him, there was one way to get a dream interpreted, even without knowing the dream. But you would need Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol wears on his chest, he wears the Hoshen HaMishpat, which is 12 beautiful stones that have engraved in them the names of the Shevatim, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Shiftei Yeshurun. It has all of their names written in, and these stones light up like a prophecy, like a message from God. They light up, and that way a dream could be interpreted. That they said, "Oh, but Nebuchadnezzar, problem is you destroyed the Beit HaMikdash. There's no Kohen Gadol. He looks at them and now he's even more angry. He says, who told me to destroy Beit HaMikdash? You gave me the advice to destroy Beit HaMikdash. At that point, Nebuchadnezzar was so upset. He said, now remember, he's a little crazy. He said, I'm going to kill all of you because you can't interpret my dream. But since you said that no wise man can interpret my dream, I'm going to kill all the wise men of Bavel. That's what he said. All the wise men of Bavel are ordered to be executed. Wow. Who does this include? Daniel v'chaverav. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, v'Azariah. All of a sudden they realize that not only the non-Jews did he decree upon, the people that were before him, but also the people that didn't even stand there, that weren't even in the room. Because they said that every smart man is not going to be able to interpret the dream. So Nebuchadnezzar wanted to kill everybody smart. Bezat Hashem, next week, Haba Aleinu L'Tovah, we'll see what Daniel does in this situation and how he goes ahead and he continues to go as a tzaddik, as Yireh Shamayim, and what solution does he come up with? Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.